What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to another one. It is Tyler. Hooksets are free. Hope you're having a great day, night, or whenever it is that you're watching this video. It is a little after 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here on Saturday, August 28th, 2021. So I've got a little unboxing to share with you guys from Tackle Warehouse that I wanted to show as I open it up. I hinted last night at what exactly is in the package, and I don't know exactly what is all in here. So I'm excited to open it up and uh, and show you guys what I picked up. It's kind of a wide variety, but the reason that I placed this order is because I've recently gotten into the idea of tying my own jigs, especially with rubber skirting material. So I did a little bit of shopping around, and Tackle Warehouse had a great selection. And so I went kind of out of my way to pick up a variety of it. And then while I was at it, as typically happens, I found a handful of other things that caught my eye and that were on sale or were new to the market. So threw those in the cart as well. Got the package in the mail today and thought that I would hop on here to go ahead and show you guys what I picked up. What's up, Ron? What's up, Abe? How you guys doing? Not too much, Abe. Um, as I mentioned, just got a package in from Tackle Warehouse that I wanted to show you guys. What's up, Neil? What is up, bros? Denver Broncos are playing right now and keeping it tight, but just scored a touchdown and are beating the LA Rams right now in the final preseason game of the NFL season for this year. So I'm excited. I've got my fantasy football draft coming up in a week or so. I don't know if you guys care about NFL football or fantasy football, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Abe says Dodgers. Yeah, go Rockies. Whatever. Um, much more excited about football than I am baseball most years, to be honest with you. It's just, I always grew up going to a handful of baseball games per year, maybe upwards of 10. But I went to probably half or more of the home football games, probably 4 to 6 home games a year. And there was just something about the environment. Same with hockey. I like the vibe a little bit better, more intensity. The fans are more hardcore. And when the games are tight and fun, it's a different vibe than it is with baseball. So anyway, let's talk about fishing, guys. Ron says Giants. Well, are you talking San Francisco Giants? Or are you talking about New York Giants, dude? Neil says, no, I don't watch football. More into hardcore ping pong. Sick, dude. If you were being for real, that would be awesome. Did you watch any ping pong in the Olympics, man? Yeah, baseball. All right, dude. I'm not gonna put this off any longer. Let's get into talking about this because I don't know how long this package is going to take me to actually um, unbox and talk to you about the contents of. So let's whip it out, and then if you guys want to talk about anything else after that, we certainly can. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. So I'll show you guys just a little bit of a preview of what I picked up from Tackle Warehouse. This is the invoice here. So you can see a lot of skirts, couple jigs, couple Z-Man products, things like that. So let's roll through it. We'll go over the skirting material last, just because there's a little bit more to talk about there. But what I see first on top here are a couple frogs. And I don't know if Ron had asked me about this frog recently or what, but I saw these on sale from Tackle Warehouse last week and figured I kind of needed to check out. And this is the Stanford Baits Boom Boom Frog. Okay. A little bit gimmicky, but also very interesting. The concept here. So this bait retails for like 11 bucks, was on sale for less than $8. So I spent, yeah, $7.69 on this puppy. Um, and I figured I might as well check it out because I've heard reasonable things about it, and I do like the concept. So I'm just curious to add it to my collection and see how it fishes. They do make a Poppin version of the same frog, but I decided to just go with the original. Um, I find that I tend to fish walking frogs, standard frogs, just a little bit more frequently than I do Poppin frogs. But I'm pretty satisfied with the Poppin frogs that I have, ranging from the Jackal Gavacho to the Evergreen Shower Blows frog, that soft shell, to the Sixth Sense frog, and a few others. So decided to go with the standard walking frog. Uh, Body profile almost reminds me of like the Terminator walking frog, which is excellent. But a couple things to note about this bad boy. First and foremost, the most important thing to talk about is the frog fur on top of the frog. So Fred Rumbanis, aka Boom Boom, um, had the idea, and so partnered up with Stanford to create his own frog. Um, and the idea is that this fur on top of the bait will help just give you a little bit of extra time to set the hook on a bass when they eat this frog. So, as you know, a vast majority of bass have uh, sandpaper like teeth on the roof of their mouth. And so the idea is that this little Velcro patch on top should get caught on that roof of the fish's mouth. It's not going to, hook the fish for you, but it will delay and prevent the fish from being able to spit the bait quite as quickly or as easily, and give you more time to set the hook. So I do notice that this frog has a relatively soft body, not the softest out there, but I don't think hookup ratio should be an issue. I do like how well this body is designed around this frog, or around this hook. The hook looks to be high quality. I think it's a mustad hook if I'm not mistaken. Uh, it doesn't quite say. The couple things that they mention on the box here are that this thing is 2.5 inches long, weighs 3/8 of an ounce, so a little bit light for its size. I'll be curious to see how castability is on this thing. Look at that mouth. At first, I thought it looked kind of like a mustache in the pictures, but really, this is a mouth with some gnarly looking teeth on there. That's kind of an interesting look to it. Doesn't it kind of look mustache like though, the way that it curls up there? Anyway, I really like this color. This is called Officer, and it is black and blue, as you can tell. One other feature that makes this frog unique, there's only a couple frogs like this on the market, is that eye on the bottom. It does look to be glued on here, so I don't know just how durable that's going to be, or if that'll come off pretty quickly, but 3/8 ounce frog. Says that 65-pound braid is recommended. Yeah, no surprise there. Says it's got frog fur, which allows for a longer fish holding bite. Faster collapsing body, better hookup ratio. I don't know about that. New weight design allows for fast hook penetration. Doesn't look all that innovative, but it looks solid. the way that the weight is placed behind the hook there, and the hole looks to be sealed up pretty well. So my guess is that this thing is going to hold up well and not take on too much water. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, it says fish fooling, bait fish eye, and gill design. And lastly, fierce. Boom boom approved. Okay. So pretty cool looking frog here. I got this one and one other color. This color is called Fred Frog. So I guess this is Fred Rumbanis's specialty color. I didn't really know that. I just like this color combination when looking at it. And the reason being is that it's got a green back, kind of a dark back that then fades to a white belly and has these white legs. So from the bottom, it's going to look very bait fishy. From the side, it's almost going to look more like a baby bass. And from the top, which is, all that we see, um, it will look more like a frog. So either way, I like this white with a little bit of orange on the belly there. Pretty cool. As you can see, this one, the hooks are not totally flush with the body. Um, Usually not a big issue for me, but that's going to lead to just a little bit more vegetation getting stuck on this thing. And one thing that I am a little bit concerned about is that frog fur on top could potentially grab onto or allow vegetation to grab onto it. Um, so I'm curious. It doesn't feel rough like Velcro. And it looks like it's glued on here. So I will keep you guys posted about how durable this frog fur is and what my impressions are of the frog once I have a chance to fish it. But for $7.69 a pop, it kind of felt like I needed to check it out for myself, add them to the box, and see what it's like. So what? I thought I heard something. Sounds like there's a rattle in this puppy. I don't know why that's not mentioned on the packaging, but it sounds like there's a rattle in that thing. So sweet. No, Matt, I did not. Man, you are canine obsessed, man. Um, no, man, did not. Seems that that's kind of all you want to talk about is DRT. Um, and I'm not trying to hate on that. I'm glad that you're in love with those baits, but I don't think any of the rest of us uh, use those baits, and so yeah, tough for me to totally relate in that regard. But glad to hear that you also heard good things about the Boom Boom Frog. Neil says, yeah, they usually have an eye on the bottom to look like a bait fish too. Yeah, for sure. Again, there aren't very many of them on the market like that, though. So it's a good concept, and I wish more companies would do that. Quite honestly, not enough companies pay attention to what the bottom of the frog looks like as opposed to the top. Even this Boom Boom Frog has a ton of frog looking detail on the top of the frog, on the side of the frog, and then all of a sudden, boom, on the bottom, it looks like a bait fish. So, kind of interesting. Most frogs, I think, are designed to look like frogs as opposed to bait fish, even though uh, I am fairly certain that bass are interpreting a frog on the surface being more of a bait fish than a frog. Of course, it goes both ways, but also wanted to tell you, got a head in Big Bud Budweiser wake bait. Brand new, still in package. Should have been here today, but gonna come Monday. What? I didn't know Hedden made a Big Bud Budweiser wake bait. That sounds pretty cool. Um, might have to check that out sometime. I had no idea that they even made that. So let's move on. I've got 4 packs of Z-Man soft plastics here, and these are new to the market, okay? New on the market as of ICAST 2021. So literally these released just a month ago and are just becoming available now at certain retailers. I think Discount Tackle has these in stock at this point, and I'll probably pick up a couple more packs of these here in the next week or so when I place my Discount Tackle order. But while I was on Tackle Warehouse and saw these in stock, I figured I would kind of cross-reference the colors that are available on Discount Tackle and just pick some of these up to have them a little bit early. So first up is the Hella Craws. And this is a new crawfish imitator, and I have never seen this up close. It is brand new on the market and interesting. Tell me what you guys think this reminds you of in taking a look at the profile and the claws. It reminds me of two baits in particular, if you kind of combine them. So I like the flange on the claws themselves. I think that's going to give it some nice vibration and kicking action. I like the size of the profile. These things measure 3.75 inches long. So they're going to make a great trailer on a jig, on a chatterbait, on a swim jig, but also make a great Texas rig bait, a great wobblehead bait. This thing will be super versatile. And of course, it's made from Elastec. So I like that kind of smaller profile without being, you know, a TRD or Ned rig size. So the other thing that I like about this is the hook slot right in the middle. As you can tell, this is the belly of the bait. This is the top with the eyes and that hook slot right down the center. So pretty cool design where you shouldn't really have to expose the bait. The hook should be able to rest right in there. So I like that a lot. But since you guys haven't mentioned in the comments, I will just let you know this reminds me of a hybrid between a Strike King Rage Tail Craw, the Rage Craw, and a Netbait Paca Craw. Okay? So either way, I think it should do quite well and be a versatile bait. Obviously super durable. Now the only thing is that these come in a pack of 3. So depending on how you rig it, if you're fishing this on a Texas rig or a wobblehead, something like that, maybe even a shaky head, you're probably going to want to take it off the hook and put it back in the package when you're done using it. But if you've got it on a jig or a chatterbait, something like that, where it's pulled up onto a keeper, that's the main unfortunate reality, is that it's going to be more challenging to take it back off and store it in the pack. Of course, you can do that with Elastec. It's not impossible to do, but you might go through the baits just a little bit quicker in doing that, especially if you're using it on something like a jackhammer chatterbait or something of the sort that has a pretty aggressive bait keeper on it. So picked one up in green pumpkin and one in black and blue. Very standard colors. I'd not decide to go out of the box with colors on these guys. I think Z-Man does the classic colors really well. And otherwise, I think their color selection is good, but not like incredible. So I find that I can cover pretty much all of my bases with just green pumpkin and black and blue. And I know that sounds a little bit like a pro saying that, you know, all you need is green pumpkin, black and blue, and white. But that is pretty much true. I hate to say it. So same deal I got green pumpkin and black and blue in another bait that is new on the market from Z-Man. Much bigger packaging, as you can tell. Here's the turbo, or the Helicross, which is like the standard size Z-Man packaging. And here is the Turbo Fatties, which is Z-Man's new take on a speed worm. And yeah, that's a fatty for sure. Dang. Makes me immediately want to compare, but I think the only Magnum speed worms that I have are actually upstairs in the garage right now. So these are definitely thicker than a standard Ultra Vibe speed worm or a standard Rage Tail cutter worm or something of the sort. There are a lot of different speed worms on the market these days. And as you can see, this is not a whole lot different. This has just a kicker tail on it, but it has a very, very bulky body. And I'll be curious to see what the buoyancy is like of this thing. It's called the Fatties for a reason. If I pull out, say for example, the Mag Fatties from Z-Man, which is a relatively fat bait, but more so than it being fatter than the original Fatties. The Mag Fatties is a longer bait. So this is a 7¼ inch shaky head style worm, and the Fatties is like a 5-inch bait. So when I show you side by side, this is the Mag Fatties and this is the Turbo Fatties. It is significantly bigger around. It's a much fatter bait. So I like that. This is a meaty soft plastic. And these come 6 to a pack. Retail just a little bit more at like $6 a pack. So they're not cheap, but they're definitely not expensive. I think they're pretty worth it. Oh, definitely not Ron. No, the giant TRD is absolutely giant. Okay, look at these guys side by side. So this is almost right in between the Mag Fatties and the giant TRD. This Turbo Fatties is a really fat worm. It's very close in girth to like the Magnum UV speed worm from Zoom. But again, I think I only have 1 pack of those. We can kind of double check real quick because I do have my Zoom box here, but that's not a worm that I throw a lot, is the Magnum speed worm. I throw the standard speed worm a lot more frequently. And these guys are a lot smaller. So now the Magnum ones I've got up in the garage, and then the cutter worm I already know without having to show you. The standard Rage Tail cutter worm is skinnier than this Turbo Fatties as well. So I don't know how the action is going to compare because this has a little bit of a different tail design that reminds me a little bit more of the cutter worm than it does of the speed worm, with that flange on the back. So I like it. And I also like the fact that these come in a clamshell. So all the power to to Z-Man for putting these new baits in clamshells. I don't mind paying just a little bit more money if all these baits are coming in clamshells. The Turbo Craws and a lot of the older baits that they made did not come in clamshells, and a lot of the newer baits like the Pro Craws and the goat are all coming in clamshells now. So I'm a fan of that. So picked up 2 packs of the Turbo Fatties, 2 packs of the Helicross, and let's move right along. Where the hell did I put those frogs? Okay, the frogs are in the pile of frogs on my desk. There's not a whole lot else in here. A couple more things before we talk about skirts. Matt says, my 3 colors are baby bass, smoke, and brown. And pink smoke. Get the heck out of here, dude. Yeah, it does kind of look like the goat, just like one of the goat legs, dude. You're right, Neil. Okay, got 2 packs of the Queen Tackle Switchblades. You guys have seen me talk about these before. These are awesome for making your own chatterbaits. And I've got a few of my creations. Maybe all of them are upstairs in my go-to chatterbait box. This is kind of like my secondary chatterbait box. And I don't think I have any of them in here. So can't exactly show you, but you guys get the concept in that if I wanted to turn any old jig head with a vertical line tie into a chatterbait, all I'd have to do is take, this 6 Sense Divine swim bait head and this chatterbait blade. And as you can see, the design on the back of this blade has these little clips where you would bend this back and then the metal will slide up and then you can just put this right on there and then the metal comes back down and then you clamp that on and there you go. You have an easily convertible, you can turn any vertical line tie into a chatterbait. And I've even tried doing it with hard baits, like a lipless crankbait, which was kind of a bad idea, though I did catch a fish on it. Just wild vibration bait. So, point is, they make these in 2 sizes, and they were on sale on clearance. In fact, like they were going out or being discontinued or something. So I felt the need to buy a couple more of them because I believe I used all the ones that I had in making my own chatterbaits. I didn't really keep any in stock. And I had bought, I think, a pack of all 3 colors. Yeah, I have none of these left. And I had bought them all in the regular size, regular and large. And so what I did was buy 2 packs of the large size. That's not labeled very well. There's just a little dot inside that large circle. So I got 1 in black, 1 in silver. They do also make a gold color, but I was just curious to see how much bigger the big blade is compared to a standard or the regular size. And I'll compare that alongside like a standard size, on the Picasso, on the Jackhammer, and a handful of others to be able to kind of share that information with you guys and do a proper review down the road. But so far, I have been very impressed with the Switchblade from Queen Tackle. So it's a very cool concept. I'm surprised that nobody else has put out a similar product. And I'm also surprised to hear that it's been kind of a low-key deal and is, for some reason, on clearance right now from Tackle Warehouse. So who knows? Either way, I do recommend them if you guys are curious. There you go with the tiny clash again, man. Here we are. 2 jigs that I bought. These are from Bass Patrol, and these are football jigs with rubber skirts. These things were really affordable too, man. Like surprisingly good deal. Got these things for $2.59 a pop. So, hand-tied custom jigs, premium black nickel hooks. They come with a 2x strong Mustad Ultra Point hook. And for $2.69, I think that must have been a sale price, but I couldn't help it. You know, I was looking around for rubber skirting material and found that these puppies were available and perhaps on sale as well. And I decided to get 2 of them. So I don't know if these are the same color, but they're primarily brown. So a couple things that you'll notice about this jig. Um, it does have living rubber, round rubber, entirely all the way around. This is a football head jig, 3/8 of an ounce. I love the recessed line tie in the head of this jig. It's going to prevent hang-ups just a little bit. The weed guard is solid. It's firm, but definitely not too firm. The reason it's not pressing down quite as easily is that this hook does have a little piece of plastic wrapped around it to protect the packaging of the jig. Let me see if I can just twist that guy right off. I like how compact this jig is. Might have to use pliers to freaking. There we go. All right. So look how compact this jig is. This thing has what looks to be like a 1/0 or maybe 2/0 hook in here. It's definitely a medium wire hook. It's not light wire, but it's definitely not heavy gauge at all. And it's got a pretty standard lead bait keeper on it. So nothing to write home about in terms of the bait keeper, but in terms of build quality, with the jig and the recessed line tie, a solid weed guard, and a quality hook with living rubber, I mean, very, very hard to beat that price tag. So I could not help it and pick two of these guys up. So this is brown with purple, and I think this one is just brown with black. So that's the one thing that you're going to notice about living rubber, regardless of the type, is that colors are going to be a bit limited. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys the rubber that I bought here from Tackle Warehouse right now. And you're not going to see a lot of variation of color. That is one of the main things to note. I did get some living rubber and some flat rubber, and you'll see that there are a couple little subtle differences. Living rubber is meant to kind of imitate a similar action and pulsing in the water as silicone, but it is more buoyant. It's going to cause a slower fall, and it's going to pulse out quicker than silicone. So it will separate faster, flare faster than silicone. So if you're hopping a jig on the bottom, you're going to have more movement going on using rubber than if you're using silicone. On the other hand, flat rubber is a bit thicker. It's going to create more bulk with less material, and it's going to move more water. Okay, so typically you're going to use round rubber on jigs, on compact jigs. And then flat rubber you're going to use on more of like moving baits. So let's let's see what we got in here. I've got kind of a lot. Not an insane amount. But let's see what the Skirts Unlimited. Doesn't even freaking say which one is Skirts Unlimited, dude. Okay, that's these. Skirts Unlimited. This is the Tarantula Series. Oh, geez. This is all Skirts Unlimited. All right, this is Old School Rubber. This is Tarantula Series. And then I've got some flat cut rubber as well. So let's talk about the Old School Rubber, I guess. I wish I could tell you what the real difference is between these. The Old School Rubber looks a little bit more like round rubber, but I can't guarantee that. I'm sorry, I'm so confused. I haven't opened this stuff up yet. It is like reading the package of the Bellows Gill, man. So what I found cool about this Old School Rubber from Skirts Unlimited is that it had a wider variety of colors. So not only did I pick one up in just like a straight green pumpkin. So this is going to look somewhere between green pumpkin and brown. And picked up some white. But they had some other colors like chartreuse, which had me wondering, is this legit? Is it definitely rubber? You know, it says this Old School Rubber features square strands, delivering unique action and presentation found nowhere else. So honestly, square rubber is supposed to have a similar effect as flat rubber, but it's almost like a hybrid between flat and round, where it's going to take up more room, but it's going to pulse out a little bit quicker than say flat would. But then they also had, this is almost like, it's called olive pumpkin red, and it's very rare for rubber to have flash in it. So this has some red sparkle in it, dude. Cool. So 4 packs of the Old School Rubber, 3 packs of the Tarantula Series rubber, and these were really only available in more classic colors. So I got one in black. I feel like I should open 1 or 2 of these for you guys. Got one in green pumpkin, and I got one in brown. And this is a much lighter color brown, but just for the hell of it, yeah, let me try and show you guys the differences here. So these are both from Skirts Unlimited, and I'm going to show you the black colors for both of these so we can see kind of the main differences. Or I didn't get black in the Old School, did I? No, I only got green pumpkin. So let's just do green pumpkin with both of these puppies. How about that? Catch me outside. How about that? All right. Neil says, who makes that skirt that looks like my army tank tracks? I think it's Dirty Jigs, but it looks really cool. Yeah, I decided not to get any of those camo color patterns, though they did have a lot of those available. So if you guys are interested in getting some of that type of stuff, check out Skirts Unlimited from Tackle Warehouse, and you'll be able to check out a lot of different designs and colors as well. So this is the old school. I guess I accidentally grabbed two tabs here. Each one of these packages comes with, I want to say 10 packs, 10 skirts themselves. And these things are like 5 or 6 inches long and are designed to really be like one jig's worth per. So this is the old school. And if I look at it, it is about the same width as round rubber, and yet it is square cut. So they weren't lying. That's pretty sweet. Okay, I like it. I'm a fan. So far, so good. And now this one is called the Tarantula Series. And again, I'm accidentally grabbing two or more. These are much wider, and I guess that's because they're flat. So the Tarantula Series is a flat cut. And you can see that green pumpkin color is much more light in nature, more of like a muted green pumpkin, and it's a thinner material. So again, my understanding is that this stuff is best to be used on moving baits, whereas the round or square cut is best to be used on jigs that are going to be moved more slowly along the bottom. So I'm curious to experiment with that stuff because I've got some green pumpkin, I've got some brown. I probably should have gotten like some purple, but I did decide to branch out and get a little bit of white and chartreuse, and then that like olive with some red flake in it. So we'll see. I'll show you guys, of course, once I have the opportunity to really start playing around and making my own with these. But do you guys have any recommendations of not only color combinations that you might goof around with? Of course, green pumpkin chartreuse would be awesome. Black and chartreuse, white and chartreuse for the moving baits. Um, but also, what about like jig heads? Do you guys have any recommendations other than say what I showed you last night? Um, I think a Gamakatsu round ball jig head. If I'm just gonna buy bare jig heads instead of try to pour my own, um, do you know of any that are great? Like I've got some by Picasso that are football head jig, but I do like the idea of maybe using a slightly more versatile jig head. And so I haven't really gone down that rabbit hole yet. Um, I'll probably look around at what I have available and fool around some before I get too dead serious about it. But last two things that I got are Andy's old school flat cut rubber. Okay. The same rubber used in our jig that won the 2016 Bassmaster Classic. Interesting. So I got both of these in a fine cut. They make it in a fine and a medium, I believe. And I got it in brown and I got it in black. So let me just pull out the black to show you what it looks like. I don't want to unroll this too much because this does come in a 5 foot long roll. And I'm sure it would be easy to accidentally unroll. And I probably will do that at some point, but looks like they've already coated this with like some talcum powder or something like that that will help prevent the roll of rubber from sticking to itself. And that's what I've read is really the most important thing to do it when storing your jigs, if they are round rubber, living rubber, whatever it is to throw some powder on there every now and again if you're not fishing the jigs. So yeah, this is a very flat rubber, and you're not going to be able to tell unless I actually start to rip it apart. Um, but I think there were only a couple of colors available in this guy, so not sure how I'll utilize this different than the Skirts Unlimited flat rubber. Other than the fact that the Skirts Unlimited stuff came in a wider variety of colors, so I'm pretty excited to have this stuff and to just start letting my imagination go and to try making some of my own stuff. That said, I almost wish I would have picked up um, a handful more of these Bass Patrol football jigs. They seem really well made and they're cheap. So I like that compact profile, that small but quality 2X strong mustad ultra point hook. Anyway, that concludes what I picked up from Tackle Warehouse. Um, Curious to know if you guys have any other questions or specific things that you want to talk about. I am going to have to go pee in a minute, and I apologize for not taking care of that sort of business before hopping on here. I was kind of preoccupied with feeding my son and also watching the Broncos game. So sorry about that, boys. Mm-mm-mm. Neil says I pre-ordered them on Tackle Warehouse, some Kitech jigs. Never took the money out. Yeah, they don't charge you until they ship the stuff out. You don't need to reorder. The shipping will be free, or you probably already paid for the shipping when you placed your order in the first place. If you ordered other things that were shipped out to you, they won't charge you again for shipping. Green pumpkin and orange with a little bit of black. Yep, for sure, Matthew. As you saw last night, that's a lot of what I tied up already with the living rubber that I had um, for fly tying. I think brown or green pumpkin and orange are great color combos for sure. Black and white, interesting. Sandtone jigs, interesting. Appreciate the suggestion. I'm going to go pee. Feel free to do a little bit of brainstorming in terms of what you guys want to talk about next for, say, the next 15 or 20 minutes while I'm still hanging out on here, enjoying our Saturday night. Be right back. I know you heard that toilet flush. I know you did. Ron Holly, you got any additional must or bust bait suggestions, questions? Who's not running low on Havocs, dude? These are all pit bosses. You might as well be running low on Havocs because they're all changed to power bait now, dude. Yeah, man, I'm not quite sure about those power bait jigs. I agree that fish hold on to power bait in general for longer, but who knows how long that power bait scent is going to stay in the material of the jig itself. Why not just get, because they actually sell power bait scent in a bottle. I swear I've got some. I just have no idea where it is right now. But why not throw that on some of your skirts of some standard jigs that you're throwing, or just like empty a bag of soft plastics out of a power bait bag and throw a couple jigs in there the night before you're going to go fishing. See if that makes a difference. Because honestly, I don't know how much of a difference uh, power bait infused jig skirts are going to make on the water. It's an interesting idea, but yeah, yeah, I know Chris Zaldane uses Santone for sure. I didn't know he made his own jigs with them. Ron says Jackal Pompadour. I can't quite speak to that because I don't have any in my collection. I've said this before, but I am not a huge crawler bait fisherman. As I showed you guys last night, I think one of the only crawler baits that I own is the Savage Gear 3D Bat. Okay. And to be honest with you, most crawler baits are going to have a very similar action. The profile is going to be slightly different. The sound can be different depending on how thick the material of the wings are. But a crawler is a crawler for the most part. And so, is it a must or a bust? I can't say. From what I've heard, I think it's more of a must than a bust. Yeah, I would probably lean toward the Pompadour Junior than this standard Pompadour. So I don't know. Can't tell you, man. Sorry. And the Grand Siglet, same deal, dude. It's a crawler, but it's a much smaller bait that imitates, more of a bug than a terrestrial animal. Um, so I don't know. I think the Siglet, they just released a small version of it. I saw the guys from the Hookup Tackle talking about that recently, and I'm not quite sure if they're in stock places yet or what, but it looks like a really cool micro style crawler bait, which I'm sure is effective. So I don't know, man. Matt says, I love my Pompadour. Works really well around current, but not still water. I don't know why. Yeah, my guess is that most crawler baits, because of how aggressive their action is, are going to perform much better in like dark conditions. So late at night or right before or after sunset, but really not any other time. I just think um, it's almost too much of a commotion, too fake sounding. You really have to catch fish at a time where they can't um, really hone in as well, and where they're more likely to be aggressive and eating almost anything that you're going to throw. So that's just my 2 cents. Chase baits prop duster. Dude, you're throwing a lot of almost borderline gimmicky baits at me, man. Um, but I guess it's good. It suits the conversation well. Isn't the prop duster their plopper style bait? Let me just double check. Um, oh no, it's the glide bait. I have one of those, and that is a good question, man. It depends on if you can get it on sale or not. Okay, because in general, I would say it's gimmicky. But I have the prop duster in the smaller size. It's like their 5-inch bait. And Discount Tackle, when they first got these baits in stock, they had them on sale. And so I managed to get it for a really good deal. And in my opinion, then it was worth it. But like if I hop on and look at Tackle Warehouse right now, the small size is 25 bucks and the middle size is 30 and the big one's 35. In my opinion, that's a little bit pricey. Um, it has a pretty good action to it, but the construction is only decent. It's a much thinner hard plastic than other glide baits on the market. It feels borderline fragile, and it is a very tall profile. So, in my opinion, it's going to imitate bluegill best, uh, followed by maybe bass more than shad. So there is a baby bass and a bluegill color. I have the bluegill in that 5-inch size, and I like it for what it is. Um, Now that said, I've also kept it um, in my glide bait box, which let me see if I have it right here. So sadly, I've got a lure lock box, which I like, um, but it has proved to be almost more of a hassle than not for me. So check out, this is what the bait looks like. Pretty cool color. This blade in the middle, I think actually is effective and does a good job. Okay. As you can see, this is a tall profile. So unless it's a gizzard shad, probably not the most accurate imitator. And this 5-inch bait by itself is already pretty big. So 25 bucks, I think it's an okay deal. But I think I got this thing for like $17 and felt like it was worth trying at that point. Now take a look at just from storing this thing inside the lure lock box. The paint on this bottom side got taken off. So I can tell you right now that the paint job is not on there extremely well. Um, and if you listen to this, not only do you hear a rattle in it, which is kind of cool, but you can hear that that plastic is thin. So I think from a construction standpoint, this thing is probably not the most durable or worth the money. And because of the price tag, is probably more of a bust than a must, in my opinion. If we're talking gimmicky baits in general, I would typically lean toward bust. Okay. So that's my opinion. If you're looking at getting a cheaper glide bait, I would almost immediately recommend to you the Savage Gear Shine Glide. This is about the same price, and in my opinion, um, a better bait. Okay. And then, of course, something like the Riveter C S Waver in the 168 is always a good option as well. But once you're into that price range, then we're talking about you know, the G Rat, um, Sneaky Pete, and we're almost talking about the Storm Arashi Glide and a handful of others. So, in my opinion, once we're into that price range, I say the Prop Duster is a bust. Okay. Sorry to be long winded in answering that question, man. Neil says, yeah, I don't really know a lot of times I've fished a chigger craw as a trailer, so a little bit more power bait won't hurt. Yep. I agree, man. Matt says, you want to fish the pompadour extremely slow, not fast. You're supposed to go very slow with crawler baits. That's true. Absolutely. All the more reason. I mean, that really proves my point in saying I think they're going to be most effective at nighttime than in the day. Just because if it's during the day, it gives them that much more of an opportunity to come up and inspect the bait. And when it's that fake of an action and sound, and you're fishing it slowly, they have a chance to just really come up and look at it and know that that's not real. It's not worth biting. Um, so that again, my opinion. Neil says, "Is Z-Man one of your favorite soft plastic companies?" Um, yeah, I would probably put them in my top 10 for sure. I used to be very quick in saying Z-Man, Kitech, and Rage Tail are really right up there, are like my three go-to favorites. But since then, I would say that I have branched out quite a bit more, and I think it depends on the technique. So, I do throw a pretty wide variety at this point, but yeah, I like Z-Man stuff quite a bit, man. Some people, it seems that it's kind of love it or hate it when it comes to Z-Man, and I know a lot of people hate it just because of the difficulty of storing the baits, difficulty of rigging the baits, but I've taken the time to really figure it out and not let those things get in my way. So, interesting, Neil. I did notice that Monster Bass was doing that deal on the prop duster like a month or two ago, and so good for you for picking a couple of them up for free, man. What size did you get? And I definitely think it's both. I think it's partly the lure lock box that's pulling the paint off, but I also think it's a very thin layer of paint on the bait, and there's nothing coating the outside of that. So I think once it gets eaten a half a dozen times, I think that paint's going to come off quicker than it would with others. Yeah, not a bad idea to spray some clear coat over the top of your prop dusters, man, for sure. He says, "What's your best top water at the moment that you're using?" Um, hate to say it, but a freaking popper this past month has really excelled for me. You know, I've tried to get away from using the Whopper Plopper quite as much for two reasons. One, because it's almost too much my comfort zone. And as you guys saw last night, I showed you those few in the loon color that over the last 2, 3, 4 years have just gotten totally destroyed. They still work extremely well, but the fish in my bodies of water that I tend to frequent have started to get accustomed to that bait. Other fishermen have started using them more, and so I find that I get some bit of fewer bites on the plopper than I used to. And I also am just a little bit bored of using it because I almost have too much confidence in it. So I'll tend to bring one almost always, but I've been trying to go out of my way to fish other baits. So really trying to fish walking baits and wake baits more. Um, and I've been fishing frogs more this summer, but I just decided to start throwing poppers like a month ago and immediately started having tremendous success on them. So yeah, no, Neil saw that perch pattern Rebel Pop R, dude. Got smoked like for a week straight. Um, I showed you guys on here on a live stream about a week ago. Um, yeah, no, I caught like 50 fish in 2 days. Um, and I caught more than that over the course of a week. But I decided to branch out and throw a handful of other poppers. Um, the week prior to that, it was the Megabass Pop X that I had. I caught probably 20, 25 fish in a few outings um, in that like bluegill pattern. And so my confidence really started to build. Then I pulled out the Yellow Magic Magnum popper, caught 5 or 10 fish on that thing in one outing. And then the X-Wrap popper, with the blood on it. Decided to just mix it up a little bit. This color pattern I thought would work well because that bluegill pattern Pop X and the that perch pattern in the Rebel Pop R had done really well for me. So I thought this kind of natural yellow perch, more so than like a fire tiger, would do really well day and night. And so took it out, started catching fish on it immediately. So I've had a lot of confidence in a popper as of late and caught more than my fair share, well over 100 fish on just a handful of different poppers over the last month. So gotta say that's probably been my best top water uh, category of baits as of late. Neil says, I like Z-Man a lot. I just hate that they don't play nice with others. Yep, not a problem for me. Me too, man. That's the reason that you see them on the wall and that a lot of other baits you don't see. You know, Zoom, I've probably got 30 or 40 bags of Zoom in this box. And these Zoom soft plastic does not play well with boxes. I've got this box is kind of miscellaneous. I've got a bunch of power bait, some big bite baits, some rage tail stuff, some X zone stuff, some missile baits, and I just don't have a great place to put these right now. I've got another one of these boxes full of drop shot baits, and then as you guys know, I've got loads and loads of soft plastics that are inside boxes, right? So like these are all Kitech Easy Shiner swim baits. These are rage tail baits. So I got structure bugs and swim baits and rage tail menace grubs. More Kitech, more rage tail. Got some Senko style baits. These are the BPS Stickos. These are some drop shot baits. We got Robo Worm, little bit of Zoom, Kitech. That's the Biospawn Plasma Tail. Got some fluke style baits here. Some Zoom flukes, which here's a prime example of what happens when you put Zoom in a plastic box. So These are fluke style baits. It's 3 different baits in here. I've got the Strike King Caffeine Shad. I've got the Strike King Zero, and because these are from Elastec, I keep these in the original packaging. And then I've got Zoom Flukes, the Super Flukes. And look what happens is that the plastic starts to warp and it bows because the softener in Zoom Soft Plastics just doesn't really do well in boxes. So that's why I just showed you I've got that entire tub full of Zoom Soft Plastics. And then I've got all my Ned baits. We went through these a couple weeks ago. I've got Yum and 6 Cents and Guggen baits and Robo Worms and Rage Tails and X Zone and Missile baits. So really wide variety there. And then well, here's the cutter worms that I was talking about earlier. So I think I mentioned, but I don't have the Magnum cutter worm, but here is the original. I think it's a 6-inch cutter worm. And as you can tell, this bait is just a little bit narrower than that Turbo Fatties from Z-Man that I just opened. This is more like a standard 5-inch Senko in thickness. Okay. But cutter worm is a great worm. So Rage Tail over the years has been one of my favorite brands for sure, but I like Z-Man. Faux show. Neil's prop dusters are the 6.5. Right on, dude. Man, stop talking about that Dog X Junior Kawaii. I might just end up picking one of those things up, dude, eventually. Molex Super NATO Frog. Um, Not sure about it, man. I don't have any of them. Is that a kicking frog? Yeah. Okay. That's the one I was thinking of. It's interesting because it's a hybrid between a hollow body frog and like a toad style soft plastic frog. So, I'm not totally sure about that thing. I wouldn't quite call it gimmicky, but in my opinion, it blurs together two categories that I don't think you really need to. Um, Now, the one bait that it reminds me of is the Stanley top toad because it looks like you should be able to kill that super NATO frog and it will still float, whereas a toad is going to sink. One of the only hollow body toads on the market is the Stanley top toad, and it's also made to swim, but can be walked. Um, and so you rig that thing with the Stanley double take hook, and essentially it becomes something very similar to that Molex Super NATO. So I don't know. I'd probably go with the top toad, at least when you consider price tag, man. The Super NATO is how much? Did I already itch that tab? $12.50. I think you could buy the top toads and a pack of the hooks for about the same price. Stanley top toads are $5.50 to $6.99. and the hooks are $5.99 for a 2-pack. So, yep, I'd go with the top toad, man. Matt, I'm sorry it took me so long to get to your question. How am I fishing the poppers? So, because of the time of the year and the temperature of the water, I have been fishing them relatively fast. So, I'm never pausing for more than 2 seconds or so. So, I am varying my retrieve on cadence of 2, 1, 3. Um, typically speaking. So, kind of like a bloop bloop, pause, bloop, pause, bloop bloop bloop, pause, bloop, pause, bloop bloop. Kind of that where I'm not pausing it for very long, just a second or two in between the cadence. And I'm very rarely actually walking the bait or getting bites while it's walking. Um, in fact, I find that the vast majority of my bites will either come after the initial cast, um, when I start working the bait, or kind of a third of the way into the cast. So I will bomb the thing out there and then just let it sit. Let the ripples dissipate. I will wait a good 10 or 15 seconds before I start working the bait, because a lot of times fish will eat this thing, um, just because of the tantalizing action of the feathered treble hook, and oftentimes the ass down position of a popper. So you end up getting hooked up without having to do anything a decent amount of the time. Probably 15 or 20% of my strikes have been before even working the bait. And then I will usually start with just a single pause or a single pop, and then pause, and then a double. And I find that usually in those first 5 or 10 seconds of retrieving the bait, I get another 30% of my bites. So a lot of times it's the cast and it's the landing of the bait and then the initial working that get the fish's attention, get them to come over and cause them to react. Um, I find it pretty rare that fish will not come to the bait, that they'll stay where they are and wait till it comes directly overhead before they eat it. And I find it fairly rare that a fish will follow that thing for the majority of a retrieve before then finally going after it. It's kind of unlike a lot of other topwater baits in that regard, where wake baits and things like that, you will find that fish will eat it at the very last minute because they're realizing that their opportunity is about to be up. And so you'll get a lot of strikes kind of right close to where you are at the very end of your retrieve. Kyle Hollinger, what's up, dude? Yeah, the Zoom trick worms are gonna to warp the boxes though, dude. Have you noticed that? Missile baits are legit for sure, Neil. The Z-Man Softastic popping frog. Oh man, Matthew was talking about that just a week or two ago. Was very interested in that thing. Wow, I think I just missed a whole bunch of comments. I'm sorry, guys. Bought a Yum kit that came like that years ago, and the plastic slots are warped. Um, yeah, I'm not quite sure. I don't use a lot of Yum soft plastics, to be honest with you. There's just something about the brand and their bait designs that don't fully appeal to me. Of course, I've got some of their baits. I've got the dingers and I've got the net dingers. Um, maybe a couple others, but I really just am not a huge fan of Yum baits. No particular reason. the Molex Nano Jig. I have not gotten that, but I have heard good things. It looks pretty sick. I probably will at some point. Um, I am a big fan of finesse and micro jig. So, yeah, man. The Valley Hill Devil Jig is an awesome finesse jig. The wire guard on that thing is so strong, but only a couple strands. It's kind of weird, and they fall so nice. Interesting. Yeah, you know what I wish more companies would do is put uh brush guards like you find on this new heavy cover Shock Blade Pro from Picasso. So the Shock Blade is their bladed jig. They were able to get around Z-Man's patent in creating this slightly different blade to head connection. But the Shock Blade Pro, they just made this heavy cover version that has 4 titanium strands. Um, and these things they collapse well, but boy, are they strong. Um, Extremely well made. They're hard to manipulate, but golly, are they really high quality. I'm a immediate fan. After seeing these on here, I wonder why other companies aren't making weed guards out of titanium material. And Neil, we talked about the Z-Man Poppin' Frog a couple weeks back. Matt asked me about it, and I said honestly, um, I hadn't tried that thing. It looked kind of weird to me. I just don't like the leg design of that Z-Man Poppin' Frogs, but I do have the Pop Shads, which I think is rather effective, and I like the profile and the way that bait works as well. So definitely worth taking a look at. And Matt, yeah, it's possible that you're pausing too long with your Ricos, but it's also possible that the sound that the Rico puts out is almost too much. Okay. And I found, of course, it's a day to day thing, but I found that the Yellow Magic got fewer bites than those other baits for me. The Megabass is a little bit more subtle and made more to walk than it is to pop. Um, of course, all these baits can do both things, but usually tend to do one better than the other. So the Yellow Magic is a better walker than it is a popper, um, just because it has that more subtle concave mouth, whereas the X-Rap Pop and the Rebel Pop R have very aggressively cupped mouths and do really well at blooping. Um, and there's something about that sound, that action, that has made a big difference for me. Um, the walking action has not gotten the attention or elicited strikes for me in the same way that the blooping sound has. And I think it's because of the time of year and the fact that the bass are feeding on bass fry, shad fry, and bluegills. And bluegills will make that sound when eating bugs on top. And from a profile standpoint, this looks like a baby bass or a little shad. And so, they're in not too long from now when the shad are really schooled up more than they are right now. Um, I think that a walking bait will perform just a little bit better, in my opinion. What's up, Justin? Matt, I'll need to check out that Ryugi uh, Talisman. Ryugi Talisman. All right, I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, I think titanium weed guards are perhaps the future, man. Yeah, the Pop Max and the Pop X are legit for sure. Uh, they make a quieter blooping sound, but they walk really well, and so you can vary your retrieve. Um, but of course, you're going to want to change. Yeah, pay attention to what the fish want in terms of the retrieve and the sound. So if you're going to be blooping the bait on a tight line instead of walking it on slack, I would probably just tie directly to the bait instead of tying a loop knot. Um, whereas if you're going to try and do both, then I would go with a loop knot. Um, but yeah, that Pop X has been awesome for me, and I think it makes an even quieter sound than the Pop Max does. I've got them both, but just haven't been throwing the Pop Max very much at all recently. Oh, don't be bummed that you missed last night. It's all good, man. Of course, you could watch the replay if you want to. Have you seen those wood Pop Maxes and Pop X's that Megabass makes? Want one just to see the difference. I have seen them, um, but I don't know where they're available, man. For sure. Russ Dennis in the house, man. Freaking hour and a half late. Justin and Russ just showing up in here. Bros, I'm drinking water tonight. We already did an unboxing. We just been chit chatting for the last half an hour. I freaking wish you guys would have been here earlier. All good though. No big deal. Thanks for showing up, at least for the last couple minutes. You really don't need to be sorry. Guys, these, why don't they mention on the packaging that these things have rattles in them? I just picked up these two Stanford Boom Boom frogs. Check that out. You got a frog on the top with some fur. You got a freaking bait fish on the bottom. Relatively lightweight frog at 3/8 of an ounce for being a standard size 2.5-inch frog, but saw these on sale from Tackle Warehouse, decided to pick a couple up. So pretty excited to put those to the test, see what they're about, as well as these new Z-Man soft plastics. I will say, I have definitely been more excited about other new Z-Man soft plastics in the past. There was just something about the fact that these are designs that have existed on the market for years, and Z-Man just finally decided to put out their own version of it. Now I know that kind of thing exists all over the place and happens pretty much with everything. You know, you could say the same is true for a lot of these, including the goat being just like the menace grub, and swim baits, tubes, things like that. But like the Pro Cross, I was that much more excited to get last year and use as a jig trailer and as a Texas rig bait than I am with the Helicross. That said, I might use the Helicross on a swim jig and on a chatterbait um, in a slightly different place than I do like the Turbo Cross, or I might not. I don't know. And then the Turbo Fatties is essentially the same thing as what you get in a speed worm, a Magnum speed worm. And it's not an innovative concept, but definitely still cool given that it's made from Elastec. Should be super durable. I like being able to go out and be rigged up and expect that one bait will get me through the entire session, and not to worry about going through a half a pack or a full pack of soft plastic. So Russ says, "Hurry up, fall! I want to fish again." That is hilarious. Justin says he got his Jackal Caras in. Sweet, man. Sweet, sweet. How do you like them? I haven't been fishing the Cara as much as I thought I would be, but I would say that I will be fishing it more very soon. Okay. Um, I was fishing one of them a bit, like I don't know, a month ago or so. One in like that black gill color, and I got some strikes, but did not hook up with any fish just because I was at a couple places where they don't eat a frog very well. And as you guys know, frog fishing, and really for that matter, most lures can vary drastically from body of water to body of water. You can go from one place to another fishing the same thing, and they will destroy it at one place and not at the next. So I wanted to be throwing a frog a lot like a month ago. Once I got all these caras and gavachos and was ordering the shower blows, soft shell frogs, but just have not um, really put in enough time. I usually am wanting to catch a couple of fish every time I go out, and once I catch on to a pattern or something that's working really well, then I don't slow down. Um, so yeah, man. Matt says, I don't know why, but I think it's the casting system that makes the noise the same. And like the Depths Buster K has a ceramic ball inside. Interesting. You think so? Things kind of getting lodged. I don't know. Either way, they didn't mention whatever it is on the packaging, and I'm a little surprised and a little bit upset because I would like to know what the hell that thing is, man. New weight design allows for fast hurt. That's not it. Doesn't say, man. Matt says, up here in Jersey, you can tell fall's already coming. Nights are getting cooler, some vegetation's dying off. We kind of almost have that here in Colorado, but not quite yet, man. California, it's hot as F. Not gonna happen. LOL, says Russ. Yeah, it's gonna be hot for a little bit longer, dude. You've been waiting 6 months for a kayak. I remember you saying that you're over bank fishing, and we're looking into getting a kayak, but I forgot that you mentioned that you ordered one some time ago. That's unfortunate to have to wait that long, man. Okay, it was on back order. That's pretty brutal. Freaking A. Clash 9, here we go. Oh shoot, I forgot to tell you I had a strike on the Clash 9 for the first time in that perch color. Fish came out of nowhere. Just hit right behind it. I was like, no. It was so awesome to see it. Finally got a hit 3 days ago. Did I see? I was in on Debo's stream earlier tonight for like, a few minutes. I hopped on and then had to put my kids to bed, and then I hopped back on for a couple minutes right before they signed off. Did I see you mention that in the chat? Um, I think maybe I did. Anyway, anything else you guys want to chat about for a few minutes before we dip out of here? Um, because it's getting late and I do probably need to go to bed soonish. given that I'm on milk duty tonight. I did just make a point to feed my son at like, you know, 8:30 or so. So it's been 2+ hours, and last night he went a long time in between feeding. So fingers crossed that he'll do the same tonight, but there obviously are no guarantees. Dude is growing like a weed, and some days are better than others. So I would love to get a little 5 hour stretch of sleep before he wakes up wanting to eat. But yeah, if I don't get to bed in the next hour, that very well might not happen. Gosh, I really need to do some cleaning up in here. Do you guys have any recommendations of what you might want to see in a giveaway? Because here we're at the end of August, and I don't think I did a giveaway last month. So I definitely owe you guys. I was talking about giving away these two frogs. I can definitely still do that. These are still new in the package, and I'm happy to do that. This is the black or the glitter bluegill color of the Cara, and this is the gold gill of the Gavacho. Um, but I think last giveaway I did was also giving away frogs. Is there anything else that you guys want? And do you guys mind when if and when I give away stuff that is already out of the package? I can't tell if people like or dislike that because I have a lot of baits that are either lightly used or really just opened but not used at all. And I wonder what people's take is on that. Ron says he wants some tiny clashes and some K9s. That's funny. Matt says do some frogs and a pack of plastics. I could easily do that. Right on. Neil says I don't care if it's in the package, out of the package, slightly used, whatever. Russ wants some jerk baits. Abe remembers the days of very little sleep. Yeah, hence why I've been looking a little bit sleepy as of late, guys. I apologize, but that's just part of what you get. You guys only see me on Friday nights and Saturday nights, really, when I've been kind of low on sleep. Ron, don't worry about it, man. Beggars can't be choosers. You guys aren't beggars, man. But I hear you, and I appreciate the sentiment coming from you guys saying that it's really not a big deal to give away something that's out of the package and either not used or lightly used. I would feel the same way, honestly, because as you guys see from me most of the time, when I get new baits, they come immediately out of the box. I don't really keep things in the box um, at all. Soft plastics I will sometimes keep in their original packaging, but for the most part, I don't, I open things when I get them, right? And a lot of these baits are unused. So I've got boxes full of baits, and in general, probably only half of them have been used or get used regularly. So it's hard for me to really know what people want, and I try to keep an eye on my inventory. I don't have that many duplicates of many baits in the same color, so sometimes it's hard for me to choose, and it helps to get a little bit of feedback from you guys. So appreciate you. Neil says maybe a Hooksets are free favorite fishing kit. That's pretty cool, but jerk baits do sound pretty good. Well, I have jerk baits to give, so it's a good point. I should probably do a jerkbait giveaway here um, in the fall. As fall and winter are coming around, jerkbaits are going to be really back in season, if you will. And I've told you guys that I have a lot of Ned rigs, both baits and jig heads, as well as chatterbaits and chatterbait trailers to give away soon. So Ron wants frogs. Ron, it's more valuable when Tyler has used it. I don't agree with that, but I respect what you're saying, man. Jerkbait would be a good one. I like when baits get battle wounds. It shows character. I agree, man. Ned heads too. Okay. Well, a lot of feedback to consider. Appreciate you guys quickly popping off in the chat. All of you guys. Abe, Neil, Russ, Matt, Justin. Guys, thanks for hanging out tonight. I am going to dip out of here. It's about 11 o'clock my time. I want to check and see how the Broncos did. Maybe check and see how the UFC fights were tonight. Not important, but I'm going to dip out of here. Justin says, it would be cool for you to sign an old busted bait. That's what I would opt for if I ever went. Interesting. Appreciate you saying that, man. Sometime we could probably talk about retired baits. Neil says, I threw out jerk baits all year and I catch fish. That's no baloney. Throw out jerk baits all year. Interesting. Broncos won. Well, that's good news, but you're absolutely right. The preseason is a joke, my man. Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Luck. Drew Lock got to play tonight. Who knows who's actually going to end up being our starter beyond week one. Teddy Bridgewater is supposed to be our starter. Yeah, I'm just hoping that we break 500 this year. If we can go 9-8 or 10-7, I'll be happy. Vision 110 high float. That's one that I don't have, Matt. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your weekend. Feel free to hit me up anytime. Uh, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you again soon.